Saylor says that in 21 years, you're going to wish that you bought more Bitcoin. I mean, have we ever had a president say that an asset is a great thing for our country?
It's become amazing. I mean, it's the jobs that it produces. And I notice more and more you pay in Bitcoin. I mean, people are saying it takes a lot of pressure off the dollar. And it's a great thing for our country.
We've got financial advisors saying that you should have between 10 to 40% of your portfolio in Bitcoin in crypto. And Dr. Jeff Ross believes that we could be heading into a massive bull run in the second half of the year.
Liquidity continues to increase. Bitcoin has pulled back a little bit because of the Iran scare. I think from here on out, from where we are today at about 103, I think we're going to get to 120, 140, 150, and probably in that range, maybe even a little bit higher by the end of the summer, like July, August timeframe.
Not bullish enough for you? Don't worry. We've got more. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go.
Today, I'm saying 40%. That's astonishing, right?
Yeah.
Nobody ever anywhere has said such a thing as what I'm saying now. Why the shift? It's because of the massive change in the evolution of crypto that we've enjoyed in the past 4 years. 4 years ago, we didn't know if governments were going to ban Bitcoin. We didn't know if the technology would become obsolete. We didn't know if consumers might not want to adopt it. We didn't know if there would be any institutional engagement. Today, all those questions are resolved. In the Trump administration, in the new Congress, there is massive support for crypto. Every member of the president's cabinet personally owns Bitcoin. Every major economic appointee of the president, the secretaries of Treasury, Commerce, Department of Labor, the heads of the SEC, CFTC, OCC, FDIC, all of them huge supporters of crypto. There's no longer a question as to whether the government likes this or not and is going to support the development. We also now see institutional investors engaging in ways never seen before. Banks are now permitted for the very first time, along with brokerage firms, to trade and custody crypto, which they could never do before. Stable coins are now Goldman calls it the killer app of crypto. We now have a huge array going in, and in fact, the first legislation out of Congress is crypto legislation, the Genius Act. So it has radically changed. It is now a mainstream asset. And we look at the adoption rate, it's still incredibly low. It's only about 5% of the global population that own crypto at this stage. As more and more get involved, learn about it, discover it, and invest in it, we're going to see massive asset inflows. And because, and certainly in the case of Bitcoin, it's a fixed supply asset, the more people who buy it, the higher the price is going to rise.
This clip comes from Rick Edelman, an OG in the advising space who's always been known to be sort of on the bleeding edge of his recommendations. But think about this. He just recommended a 10 to 40% allocation to Bitcoin, when last year he was saying that 1% was aggressive. And that's because he sees all of these different tailwinds. He sees it being recommended by the president of the United States. He sees that all of his cabinet is recommending it in his policies. He sees that there's a weakening dollar. He's talking about institutional adoption, and he talks about easing government regulation. An example, Bill Pulte, the head of the Housing Authority, saying that Bitcoin should be allowed to be used to look at a person's finance in order to qualify for a mortgage, to make the American dream affordable for everybody. Or Rick Edelman could just be reading between the tea leaves of what Donald Trump just put out saying, don't worry about cutting spending or our debt problem. We can't fix that. Let's grow at all costs. Scott Bessent and Donald Trump have been very clear about what their plan is. And if the 4 points from this beautiful bill growth plan get implemented, well, the sky is the limit.
This bill has all of our national priorities in it. So we are going to make the 2017 tax cuts permanent. So we will never hear them called a tax cut again. It is going to be the law of the land, and that's going to be the baseline. We are, for businesses, we are going to bring back 100% expensing, and we have added that for factories and farm structures, and I'm a farmer, and I didn't put it in the bill though, that those for 5 years are going to be 100%. You can depreciate 100% in the first year. It's going to include all the president's priorities from the campaign: no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, bringing down the tax for seniors on Social Security. And just like probably, Ralph, when you and I bought our first cars, you can deduct the interest on an auto loan for an American-made car. So it's going to include all four of those, the president's priorities, and then it's also going to include funding for the border.
Yep.
So that Christy Nome, Tom Homan can finish off the good work they've started. It is going to include money. We have an antiquated, the FAA that's just been patched and overlooked, and it is going to include, for all of you who flew here today, probably was not the highlight of your year thus far, but look, we can make air travel even safer, and we can have more flights and more supply, and so it has some of everything.
But when you hear all of these things, you have to wonder, why hasn't Bitcoin's price exploded yet already? And this analyst has some ideas.
How could conditions get any more bullish than they have been the past couple of months with the new administration and everything else?
Okay. So on the demand side, you have billions of dollars being raised through Bitcoin treasury products. Those have been announced more recently. So Anthony Pompliano's at ProCap, David Bailey at Nakamoto, Cantor Fitzgerald Tether, and SoftBank with 21 Capital. That's creating huge demand. The ETF inflows have been enormous, I think 4 billion in June alone. So where is it all going? Why is Bitcoin not mooning? So the supply side are a few different things. I think one, there's been a bit of risk replacement. So you have some of these major public companies becoming proxies for where crypto can go. And so there's people replacing Bitcoin spot risk with Circle or Coinbase or treasury companies.
But I don't think this provides a good explanation. This is too much of a micro explanation. Here's a good adage. Always take your investing cues from macro and have that inform your micro thesis. He's talking about individual things, individual investors moving to other types of investments, but he's neglecting the large themes that are happening. And so I take my thesis and my cues from someone like Dr. Jeff Ross, who lays out exactly what it's going to take for Bitcoin to go to the moon in this upcoming cycle. But before we get to that, let's thank our sponsors. If you want to unlock liquidity in your Bitcoin without selling your Bitcoin, well, you should work with one of the most trusted providers out there, like Ledn, who's been the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans since 2018. They've issued over $9 billion worth of loans to tens of thousands of customers all across the world, have never lost a single cent or sat of customer money, and will fund your account in less than 24 hours. The application takes just 2 minutes, and you can use your Bitcoin as collateral for a loan starting at just 12.4%. Or if you go to learn.ledn.ao/simply, well, you can get 0.25% off your first loan. Never sell your Bitcoin. One of the most amazing things about Bitcoin is that you can take self-custody of your Bitcoin. You can actually know that your dollars and your wealth that you've worked hard to store and save are actually there and are something that you actually own. But you can only do that if you secure your private keys. And that's a pretty scary thing for a lot of people. So don't have it be scary. Get a coach. Work with the people at the Bitcoin Way, and they will walk you through step-by-step how to take self-custody of your keys. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with their team at thebitcoinway.com/simplybitcoin. There's lots of reasons that go into why this cycle has been different. One, when Donald Trump was elected, we got into a tariff war, not to mention the actual war that was ongoing with Russia and Ukraine, and the war that's happening right now between Iran and Israel. You also have to think about the debt restructuring. You also have to think about a failed attempt at Doge. But that still doesn't impact the long-term thesis of what's actually driving Bitcoin and the confidence in the markets. There's 3 things on the horizon that we should be looking at: liquidity, a strong economy, and the excess capital from people having a strong economy to flow into assets like Bitcoin. Dr. Jeff Ross lays out more of this thesis in a recent conversation he had with Danny on what Bitcoin did.
Liquidity continues to increase. Bitcoin has pulled back a little bit because of the Iran scare. I think from here on out, from where we are today at about 103, I think we're going to get to 120, 140, 150, and probably in that range, maybe even a little bit higher by the end of the summer, like July, August timeframe.
But last time we were on the show, you said 475. So that was by the end of this like bull market.
Yes.
What kind of time frame? Are you still thinking? I think you said sort of quarter Q2, Q3 next year. I'm a patterns guy, and until the pattern changes, I go with what the patterns show. So I was assuming we were going to have another typical 4-year cycle. Based on the stuff I did and based on prior cycles, we should see the 4-year peak roughly around Halloween of 2025. So October of 2025, what I've been targeting, and I had a 475,000 price target for October 2025. If we get that exponential rip higher at the end, that's about where I would see it topping out. Things have changed since Trump because of the austerity measures that then failed. It's pushed everything, and I'll get into this a little bit. I think that it's pushing the cycle. So we're either going to have a really fast response where we do get that 4-year cycle and it does crescendo into that peak into the fourth quarter. But I think what's getting increasingly more likely is it does extend into the first half of 2026. Here's the main thing that's holding back the price of Bitcoin. I hear a lot of people talking about manipulation, which I don't actually think is true.
Me neither.
I think of liquidity. I think of the Bitcoin price as like a big kettle of soup, okay? Sitting on a stove and you got 3 burners underneath. The first burner that now almost everybody knows about is global liquidity, global M2. That has been increasing at a pretty like a modest rate. It's been solid, but not incredible, but it's also not decreasing, which is so that's a good thing. The second thing is the economy. So the economy in the U.S. has been muddling along. It's been okay, but not great, and it's definitely not accelerating like we should be seeing right now at this point in the cycle. That's why I believe the Bitcoin price hasn't started to take off into that final parabolic move that everybody kind of anticipates. We need to have burner number 1, global liquidity rising, while the economy is getting red hot. And when the economy starts to really do very well, that means that people have jobs, they're getting paid well, they're flush with cash relatively, they have money in their savings account, and they have money to speculate with or to invest in. That's burner number 3 is leverage. So once you get these 2 burners going and things start heating up, people start gaining confidence, you get your animal spirits going.
Yeah.
Burner number 3 turns on and people are like, we can't lose. I just, I put, $100 into fart coin and now it's up to 1,000. I can't lose. And so now I'm going to do it with 10x leverage or 50x leverage.
Yeah.
And they start adding leverage. That's what you see.
That's the blow off top.
That's the blow off top part. So we're nowhere near that point right now. We still need the burner number 2 to turn on, which is the economy. And coming full circle, based on the metrics I look at, forward-looking indicators, I think that in the second half of 2025, the economy is finally going to wake up and it's going to start revving up here in the US and probably around the world as well. So I'm bullish from that perspective.
There's certainly lots of boxes being checked right now. And if Trump truly implements his growth plan, well, the sky's the limit for assets like Bitcoin that not only benefit from the collapse of an existing system or a debt problem, but benefit from the growth of a strong economy and people investing excess capital into this fixed finite supply asset with 21 million coins. Like Saylor said in a tweet over the weekend, you're going to look back and wish you'd bought more Bitcoin. Hey, before we get out of here today, we want to give you a special offer. If you want to go to the largest Bitcoin mining expo in the world, please do. Use the promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off your tickets for the Mining Disrupt Conference happening in Dallas, Texas from November 11th through November 13th. We've got you hooked up. Use the promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off your tickets. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking.